Hello and welcome back friends to Lynch Paints, where I, Lynch, will be showing you how I paint Boba Fett from Star Wars Legion. If you are watching along and you are really enjoying yourselves, don't forget just to push like, leave a comment down below if you like as well, and subscribe if you are new. So grab your paints and your brushes and let's get started. So then, the first step is of course to prime our models in a black acrylic spray paint. Next we're going to be looking at the green armour, so for that we're going to need some Abaddon Black, and I'm going to pick some Lauren Forest. And we are going to need probably like a 70-30 mix. And water our paints down just a tad, so we get nice control. And we're going to apply it onto the armour. And then once it's dried, we'll then go over it again, but this time adding in less black and building up that green. So as I'm adding in more green, I'm going to be going away from the edges and more towards the middle where the light's going to be hitting it. You can kind of see there from my lamp. That's the line there that we're going to have our brightest green, but we're going to wet blend it in. Same with the helmet, we're going to kind of focus sort of here and just on the side of his face there. So I moved on from a broader brush to one with a finer tip, and this will give us a bit more control. So I'm just going to try and use up and down strokes just to help with the blending. Again, keep your paints nice and watered, and then in a mo we're going to introduce a bit of moot green. This is just going to help to brighten up our tones. And then I'm kind of just working on the helmet in just little, almost dabs. You can kind of see there, rather than long strokes. This helps to create just a little bit of texture to the model as well. Cool, that's that done. Grab our moot green. And we just want to add just a tiny little bit to our mixture each time. And keep your paints nice and watered, because you always want to put too little into the mixture and have to add in more than it is to correct your mistake from adding in too much of a light green. And I don't think we'll need to build up to a really intense green, because it's looking really nice so far. And I've only applied a couple of small layers, but still. Now, that bit there, I'm just going to try and blend in towards the top. Almost create like a little V shape. And the same with the helmet. So again, we're just adding in a little bit at a time, reducing our surface area of where we're applying the green to. And with the helmet, I'm just now kind of focusing on just the kind of top rim there. I'm just going to continue this, and then we'll probably go over the cape as well. Okay, now I'm just using pure moot green as a highlight, so I'm going to just pick out the raised areas just along there and the gaps in the armour panels very carefully. So I had another look at Boba Fett's cape, and it's almost like a khaki green. So what we're going to do is we're just going to use our Lauren Forest and mix in just a little bit of Talon sand just to make sure we're getting the right sort of colour. Gonna mix it up. Sort of that colour there. And now we've got our Lauren green as a base colour. We're going to just work over the tops of all the raised edges. Now it is cloth, so you can add a bit of texture to it by, instead of doing long strokes, you can do lots of sort of little crisscrossy actions, which we will do a little bit later on, but more towards the highlighting side. we get round to that point there. So I'm going to cover this, and then I'll see you for the highlighting stage. Right, so the highlighting time. There's two different ways you can go about this, and well, for the texture that we want to try and achieve. So you want to grab a nice sort of finely tipped brush, a brush that you feel comfortable with. And there's two different ways that we can do it. So we can either do cross stitching, which is, or cross hatching even, is where you make loads of tiny little X's. So we're going to go in one direction, go in one way, up this ridge, and then we're going to come back across, like so. There we go, focusing. So we can do it that way, or let's flip it around this way. We can stipple, so that's just where you make lots of little, almost using the very end of your brush and just kind of jabbing it, almost making like lots of little dots. That creates a nice bit of texture too, which can be used on like skin, bones, sort of natural type sort of cloth and armour, that kind of thing. Not so much armour. Armour's quite smooth and sleek to get that kind of effect. But I think that the cross hatching is working quite well on this. So I'm going to carry on with this. And again, you know, the finer the brush, the better, because the thinner lines are going to create, unlike kind of that one there that I've just done that's quite big and chunky. But yeah, those are the two main examples. So now moving on to the next stage, we're going to be looking at some of the armour panels. So I'm going to start out with some corn red. And take a little bit of this. Make sure our paint's watered down, so we've got nice control. And then we're going to start with going over like the trim of the helmet and all the red panels. And once we're done with the red, we'll then go over and do the yellow areas. So because my yellow, I don't use yellow very often, it's gotten quite horrible. So what I'm going to do first, just to help, just to build up that light, nice bright vibrant yellow colour, is I'm just going to pop on some Talon sand as a base colour, so I'm not working straight from black to yellow. As you can kind of see here with the shoulder pads, it's only one coat in the minute, but it doesn't look great. So I'm hoping that with this Talon sand acting as a base colour, we should have a nice bright and vibrant yellow. Brivant, yeah, that's a new word for you. So that's worked out really well. So that yellow is now very bright, vibrant. And what I've done is the exact same as I've done with the green armour. So I've gone over with the highlighter colour and then just added a few little scratches, the same on the red parts as well, on his gauntlets. So he's almost there. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to take a look at some of his pouches and little side bags. So what we're going to do, we're going to start out with more Fang Brown. I'm going to mix that with a little bit of Abaddon Black just to give ourselves a nice dark brown to start out with. And then after that, we'll then start introducing more of the more Fang Brown, less of the black, just to build up a nice blend. And then we'll probably highlight with a little mix of the Morfang with the Talon sand. So I'm just going to apply the base coat first, build up the layers, and I'll see you for the next phase. Okay, so here's our Boba Fett so far, and he's looking really good. I think for the jetpack, I might do maybe like a sort of dark grey on the majority of it, and then pick out the metalworks, and then obviously do the jetpack flames afterwards. But for now, we're going to move on to the his like under armour. So for that we're just going to grab some Administratum Grey or your choice of light grey, and then we're just going to have a nice pointed medium-sized brush, and then we're going to pick out all the bits just in between the armour, like so. Just being very careful not to go over any of the places that we've already painted. So for this we want to keep our paint nice and watered, nice and thin, and maximise that control. And then once we've done this, we will then perhaps give it a light wash with some nun oil, and then pick out any highlights with a little bit of white scar, but we'll probably do a mix between white scar and Administratum Grey, just so it's not too bright. Right, so for the backpack, what I will be doing is I'll be painting it a very dark grey, and then just gradually building up the colours, and then probably giving it a blue wash over the top just to make it look sort of more metallic. So I'm using a bit of Storm Vermin Fur, keep my paints nice and watered, and we're just going to start from here. Put that first initial colour on, go around the sides, fantastic. Now add in a little bit more grey, and then we're going to go again working back from the top, and then gradually working down, but not as far as last time. And then if you repeat this process of starting from the top, gradually working down, but not to as far as you did the previous time, you'll end up with a really nice blend. Just going to do some highlights. Just using the edge of my brush, just like so. Excellent. So you could, if you wanted to, if in your world you envisioned it to be greys, that is perfectly fine. You can move on. But once this is dried, I'll be going back over the top with a blue wash. So now we're moving on to the next phase, which is doing the metal work. So I'm going to grab some Iron Warriors Citadel silver. It's quite a nice dark silver, this one. And then what we'll do afterwards is that we'll go back over the areas with a little bit of, I think it's Grey Knight silver. So just going to pick out just a couple of areas, mainly his backpack. And then with this you can put a wash over the top, so you can put over Agrax Earthshade to give it a nice sort of brown earthy warm tone. You can give it a wash of null oil over the top just to dull it down even further, depending on what sort of style you want to go with. But for me, I'm just going to leave it as is and gradually just build up some of the different colours. I'm going to use, like as I say, the Grey Knight silver, just to add a nice sort of bluish tint to it. So here is our Grey Knight silver, sorry, Grey Knight steel. And so this I'm going to just give you an example. So I'm just going to do the top of this rocket piece, and you can see that is a much brighter silver compared to the rest of it. So I'm just going to just select just a couple of areas, mainly thinking about where the light source is coming from. So it's coming from the top. So I'm just going to do the top of these domes here, a little bit of feathering or sort of stippling just around the base of the jets. And then just like the central column on the way up here. Just like that. Don't need too much, but just a little bit can make it stand out and go a long way. So I might even just pop a little bit just on the end, just on the top of his rifle. Perfect. So now we are very nearly ready, and it's looking absolutely fantastic so far if you've been following along. And you can see that the glaze that I've added in on the back, I use a Guilliman glaze just over the grey straight on the top, and it's made a really nice sort of bluish tint to it, which I really love. Now last thing we're going to do are the jets on the back. So for this I'm going to start out with an orange. So I'm going to use this Fire Dragon Bright and a medium-sized brush. I'm going to water it down just a tiny bit, but not too much. And this is going to be our starting like base colour. And then afterwards, we'll then start probably add in some yellows just to make it brighter. Obviously we want it brightest towards the top, and then darker towards the end of the jets. So we'll try and go for the paint colour that's going to be the kind of the middle round colour, which is why I'm starting out with an orange, because then we can blend from the middle up with yellow to white, and then from the middle down to a red, and probably on the very tips a black as well. So if I fill this little bit in, it may look a little bit rough at first, but that's fine. That's just the base colours just for now. Cool, so I'm going to add a little bit of yellow, and we're going to mix that into our orange previously. I'm going to start from the top, work down a little bit, and already it's looking quite nice. And with this stage you can go as detailed as you like. You can go really like insanely detailed over the top, or you could just leave it as this, just a bit of orange, a bit of yellow, boom, job done. As long as you're happy with the results that you come out with, then that is the main thing, isn't it really? All about being happy with what you created. And even if you're not, just keep going at it, and you will get there with a piece you can be proud of. So I'm just going back over a little bit of orange, just kind of going up and in to those bits there. Now I'm just going to rinse my brush off, and I'm going to add a little bit of a white scar into the little mixture that I have here on my palette. And I'm going to try and focus on the very end bit here. It's not really showing up very well, so I'm just going to add in a bit more white just to make it a bit brighter. Just kind of dab it in. There we go, that's a bit better. So that looks like a nice hot fiery colour for these jets. Brilliant. So we'll then work downward, down the other way. And for this I'm going to grab some red, So I'm going to grab our Mephiston red, and then I'm going to mix that with the orange, just so it's not too bright. I'm going to work up towards the middle. Oops, sorry. Just like so. And then each time we're just adding in a little bit more of the red. And now red is a very strong colour. You don't want to add too much at once. It's always best to add in a little bit and realise that you need to add in more than it is to add too much and then have to work back through again, because that can waste a lot of time. So, yeah, I think we're about ready. So I might just add in just a tiny bit of black at the ends here. And then we should be done. And I've already done the base, so yeah, I'll see you for the final result. And so now we come to the end, and this is our finished result of Boba Fett from Star Wars Legion. And I have done him in the Hoth theme with a nice snowy base just go on there. I do thank you ever so much for watching along, and if you learned something new, that is fantastic. And if you did like the video, smash a like down below, comment, tell me what your favourite part was, or if you had any other kind of like tips yourself, that would be great to hear. And while you're at it, if you are new, do push the subscribe button. It does help out a lot, and even just hitting the like button just means so much to me. Thank you very much. There will be some stills of this up on my Instagram page at Lynch Paints. There'll be a link for that down below. And if you wanted to pick this guy up, I do have an affiliate link with Wayland Games, and a link for that will be down in the description below as well. So without further ado, I'll see you for next one. So stay safe, stay beautiful, and we'll see you soon.